it becomes obviously a rhetorical question when once you agree that the pathway to success is resonating through communication.
So welcome, first of all, to this episode of Everything Communicates. I'm sitting here today with my new friend, Enrico Biscaro, who is the author of this new book, Resonance.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you very much for having me in your show.
Well, I got to tell you, Enrico, I've really been in my meditation and through my conversations over the weekend, I had several what I call level 2 conversations, deep discussions with folks about this idea of resonance. And, I called our company Everything. And it's not because we do everything in communication, but it's because we believe that communication is everything. And just as I've been thinking about it over the weekend, if I didn't call it everything, I might have called it resonance, because actually resonance is everything, right? It's not communication for the sake of communication. Communication is not the end. Communication is the means to the end. What's the end? The end is actually resonance, right? It's resonating. I want to resonate fully, completely with my children. I want to resonate completely and fully with my wife. So anyway, I've been thinking about it so much over the whole weekend in all my conversations. It really is all about resonance, don't you think?
When you want to be impactful in your communication, I think you need to vibrate at the same frequency of other people, and that's resonance. The amount that you can bring forward when you resonate with people is exponential compared to what you can do on your own. Obviously, I use this mostly in business, but of course, this applies to your personal life with your family, with the people you love. Certainly, I've never thought about it, but countries and my wife is Canadian, and I certainly think that Canada, is still one of the country where people do share common values. They have difference, of course, like everybody in terms of how to address issues, etc. But at least there are a common set of value that seems to be to have quite solid foundation, unlike other places, unfortunately. Yeah. But no, resonance is about multiplying energy that you can take and put into your business, into your team, into your family life, and of course, the more energy, the more success you will have. The only way I know to be successful is by having other people helping me achieve my goals. So if I cannot resonate, I know that I will not go very far, no matter what I want to do.
Right, absolutely. So you said something there I want to come back to. You talked about the multiplying power of resonance. Tell me a little bit more about that.
I think about leadership and how to lead a team, how to change how things are done, which is mostly what business need to be more successful, right? Especially in an environment where things are changing at a very rapid change. If you don't change, you will not be able to keep up, right? So when you need change, whatever you propose needs to resonate with the people that you're suggesting the change to. Otherwise, you will just have negative energy coming out and resistance rather than achieving the goal you want to have. And for me, one of the way that has always been the case to achieve this resonance is through storytelling, through telling a story that people can resonate with or relate to, and making examples, and in that way things are not abstract, and you can have a discussion, because there will always be disagreement. So every discussion starts from an even keel. Resonance is building a relationship and communication around those common set of value that make us all human. And in the end, a bit like you said, I've certainly seen in everything I worked, everything I went, we all as human has a very similar set of value. The family, the children, the elderly, the food, the conviviality, the laugh. If you can build on those things, you will resonate easily with everyone.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? And as you mentioned, business is changing, life is changing. Life has changed dramatically since COVID. I mean, it had been changing quite swiftly before COVID, but COVID really it was a pivot point in the way business was operating, in the way humans are operating. What do you think leaders need to think about in this new world, in this new dynamic, in this new work-life balance, etc., in order to resonate better with their employees?
I think there needs to be a shift between managing time and managing energy. Leadership and management has always been project management. Okay, let's manage time. Let's manage our time to be effective, more effective.
Mm-hmm.
Do more with less time. Do more with less people. And I think now the people were in quarantine and they understood that time is finite. You and I both have 24 hours per day minus what we sleep. And I think we need to move away from managing time and manage energy. People want to have more energy to do what they really like to do. So if you go back to the home after a long day at work and you're completely drained, then that will kill your work-life balance because you will not have the energy to do something after work. I think what people want these days is, I want to work, of course, I want the work that fulfills me, but the work does not have to take 110% of my energy. I need to have some energy to do everything else that I want to do. And I think that's important to recognize that, because then you suddenly realize that things like managing anxiety and stress at work and how you set goal and how you develop people then becomes more important than getting things done within a certain amount of time. And the example I've always make, it's at one point I stopped many years ago. I stopped sending emails outside working hours.
Yeah.
And I start going home at whatever 5 o'clock or 4:30, depending on whatever was the time to go home. Inevitably I would make an effort not just to walk out of the office, but strut out of the office, my head high, proud that I finished my day and I can go home. And there's actually a little story in my book, and somebody called me, and actually there was a junior employee, and at the time I was a director for a corporation, said, he come to me, I said, how can you go home so early? You're not busy? I said, well, I can go home early because the team has clear priority. They know what to do. There's no big emergency. Everything goes well for our customer. So today I can go home a bit earlier. And, if I need to, I have a phone. People can contact me. And the day that I will need to stick around longer, I will have energy to do that. And the guy, he was not part of my team, was really surprised that somebody in the position I had could say or afford to do that. And I think, when you start doing that, you certainly resonate with your team, because then you basically give permission to people to say, hey, I don't really have to stay an extra half an hour today because I've done my work. If there's a problem, I can still be productive. These days, I think that everybody's got a phone and email, and there's really no excuse for staying in the office longer hours, unless in the office you have a tool that you don't have at home. I don't know, you need to print a big poster, or you need to finish a jacket design that you need the lab or whatever. But really, when you as a leader demonstrate that going home early is possible, then suddenly you give permission to everyone to resonate with you and do the same. You demonstrate that you trust your team, which is what people want, right? That's another basic need. People want to be trusted, and that's the message you send by going home early, or by not sending email after hour. And of course, as a leader, if someone sends an email after hour, you don't respond, and then the next day you go to the office and say, "Oh, why you did not respond to my email?" Well, it was not urgent. But it was urgent. No, it was not urgent. Because even if I responded, nothing could have happened. It was 9 o'clock at night. It's 10 o'clock at night. Nothing is going to happen anyway, right?
So I love that. What you're describing there is the opportunity to resonate with your employees, for CEOs, for executives to resonate with their employees. And it's funny, in my role, I work to help companies to identify and solve some of the biggest frictions in their communications, to have happier employees and happier customers. One of the biggest challenges that I think CEOs and companies are dealing with is the CEO wants people in the office, and they're pretty much the only ones, right? Maybe a few people here and there who might prefer to go into the office, but by and large, and this isn't a mystery, like there's tons, like every survey that has ever come out, the vast majority, for most businesses, maybe not all of them, but where it's conducive. And it depends as well on, location. Certainly in large metropolitan centers like the GTA, this is certainly the case. In smaller towns where commuting isn't a big deal, then it's not such a big deal. But by and large, people don't want to go into the office. It's not worth the commute for them. They don't want to. And yet, companies are forcing their people to do it for various reasons. But what I'm pointing to here is a lack of resonance, right? It's not a lack of resonance, I suppose. It's a lack of, they're not matching the resonance. They're on different wavelengths, right? The vast majority of their employees are, at 80 hertz, and the CEOs at an older style hertz, right? An older style frequency that's like, you must be in the office. I must be able to walk by and see that people are working, right? So we work with these companies to identify what is actually going on in their organizations and to resolve this so that they can actually resonate together on the same frequency, and the leadership can get on the same frequency as their people, and the people on the same frequency as their leadership, and they can work together and resonate together to do what they all want to do, right? And not trusting your people to do their best work from anywhere. Or, and this is a large part of what we do, not providing the right technology to your people so that they can do their best work from anywhere. These are some of the big problems that our company actually helps with. What are your thoughts on this?
It's difficult to get into the CEO minds, and there's so many. I think you're right. All the statistics says people wants to work from home, or most of the people prefer to work from home. I've always make the example, the before the remote versus office, there was the cubicle versus the
open office
versus closed office, and
right.
and and I compare it a bit like, one day eggs are good for you, the next day are poison, right? Or
Okay.
a glass of wine is good and one
Right.
day, and a glass of wine tomorrow is horrible. Same with the meat. I, I don't know how much this is fashionable, or because there are studies, that, and it's funny because this cubicle thing, there was an article from HBR, oh, it's a great thing. And a few years down the line, oh, it's not that good, right? So it's possible. Things change, people change, attitude toward the workplace change. I think if you are a leader, you want, as we've been saying, you want to resonate with your people, because going against the grain is, I think we all agree that it's not going to work anymore. It's not like the 50 or the 60 or the 70s where you have a boss and the boss tells you do this and you just do it.
Right.
People have choice. The value are changing. Climbing the corporate ladder is not anymore the only thing that matters to people, far from it. And so trying to insist on pushing this type of value to the new generation coming up, I think it's never going to work. They will never resonate with it, right? It's a bit like I said before, time versus energy. Now, time is new money. If you have time, you're rich these days. You don't have to have vast amount of money to be rich, but if you have time to do what you like, what you really want to do, then you're rich. And it's a bit difficult with the old corporate mentality or business mentality where money is the only motivator. So if I if you do what I tell you, you'll make a career, or you'll make more money. I don't care about money anymore.
Yeah,
So
right. I mean, for yourself, for Gen Xers, that's true. I'm a Gen X, and that's true for me. Certainly for millennials, but even more for Gen Z, right? They don't have the same goals as their parents, as Gen X, as boomers, to just acquire a house and a car and live in the suburbs and just work 50-hour weeks and 60-hour weeks. That's not what Gen Z is looking for. That's not what millennials are looking for, let alone Gen X.
no, and I quite frankly, I also understand that. I was in Vancouver this long weekend, and you look at the price of houses in Vancouver or everywhere, and you think, I'll never be able to afford a house, and so why should I just spend my entire life
Yeah,
just trying to
yeah.
get a roof
On the
over
hamster wheel,
my
trying
head?
to pay off a mortgage. Yeah.
Yeah. And so again, without judging what is better or why things have changed, because that's not for me. I'm not very happy or resonate with myself when I judge people or different generation. I think your role as a leader or as a person is to understand and resonate and provide the people that you want to employ with the work environment that they look for. And remember, eventually every business must have a customer, right? The customer will understand um, this change in mentality and in priority, etc. So you also need to resonate with your customer. Your employee need to resonate with your customer to provide a flawless execution and perfect customer support. And so if you're not resonate with your employee, they will not certainly resonate with the customer. And so there are benefits, I think, in adapting to the new normal, I would call it. And then, of course, there are businesses that are 24/7. You always need to be there. You always need to be present. You need to fix it, address that. You cannot sleep, and so every case will be different. But as long as you find that frequency, then you will do great.
How do you think we do with that, humans? Finding the right frequency in our communications.
To find the frequency, you need to listen carefully. And so I could tell you that we're doing poorly, but then I go back to the start of our discussion, and then I would say that we have opportunity for improvement. And the opportunity for improvement is when you listen, right? And when you listen, you need to listen to understand, not to respond. And that's especially when we are in the leadership position. And I've experienced it myself a number of times. Actually, it's always been my biggest weakness, if you will. You listen, and while you listen, you are preparing your answer.
Yeah.
That's not listening. That's not listening to understand, right?
Right.
You need to listen to understand, so then your answer can resonate. Or maybe your answer could be different, and
right.
That's difficult, right? That's a very difficult skill that needs years of refinement and a lot of coaching and support from people that make communication their business, like yourself. And definitely you don't want to do this on your own, because proper listening, it's a very difficult skill to learn on your own, because we're human.
I think that's the key. That's one thing that we think about and talk about as well at our company. Again, communication is everything, but most of communication, I would say, is in the listening, right? And so even back to the topic that we were talking about, where the executives, CEO usually wants everybody coming to the office and will force them in even if they don't want to. A lot of times I would point to listening. Like, are you listening to your employees in terms of what they want, or in terms of what doesn't work for them, right? What would work for them, right? What technologies would work for them? What services would work for them? What would make it worth going into the office for? Right. I happen to think I came from Zoom, and I'm a big fan of Zoom technologies. And I think that Zoom allows companies to better connect and better engage and better resonate with their people, with their employees, and with their customers, really better than anything else in the marketplace. However, that's not to say that I think that video calls are the best way to resonate with anybody. I think, right now, if you and I could meet in person and we had some coffees and we went out afterwards for drinks or some wings, that would be ideal, right? Then we would really resonate. Like, literally, we would shake hands and our bodies would resonate together, right? We literally are vibrating each other, right? But this is the next best thing, I would say, right? Having all of my communication as I speak to you, having my facial communication and my body communication, and you are consciously or subconsciously making decisions and getting my communication, and maximizing our opportunities to really listen and really get each other's communication, especially things that are really important to people.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah. And so things like being able to work from home or being able to work from anywhere. This is a really, really important thing to people, right? And especially in areas where they have to commute. If they only have a 15-minute commute into the office, well, that's still not just a 15-minute commute. That's a 15-minute drive plus the minimum half hour that it takes you to get ready for that. So there's still 45 minutes. But in a city where it's a 45-minute to 1 hour commute via transit, via bike, via driving, then that's an hour and a half to 2 hours commute. That's potentially 4 hours per day. That's a big, big deal. And I think one of the biggest things that is missing from business leaders is resonating, is communicating to understand and to listen to, before they do these things, make these big decisions that will really impact their people, their morale, certainly starting with their best people who know they have options and, have recruiters contacting them all the time with companies that are going to give them what they want. I think that this is especially something that we don't do well enough, is listening, whether it's listening to our employees and having the technology to be able to listen well, or listening to our customers and having the technologies to be able to listen well. Listening is a huge part of communications, and it is something that I think we do not do a great job at.
I'll give you an example. I recently made a survey, and we made one of these word cloud, right? Mm-hmm. And so in the strength, there was communication. So communication is a strength. Very good. You like that. In the weakness, the two most prominent word, one was communication. So you start thinking, shit, how can communication be a strength, a weakness? But the second biggest work in the weakness was listening.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Probably, the talking with the leadership of the place is we communicate what we want very well. Everybody understand what are the goal, the value of the company, positive stuff, right? Not menial things, right?
Yeah.
And people obviously recognize this. The communication is very good, but maybe the realization from the survey was, maybe we need to listen better, and then communication in two ways, right? That's why now you have communication in both part, and the fact that listening is in the opportunity for improvement.
Yeah,
that tells you clearly, without any doubt, that communication is two ways. And the other thing I wanted to add to your discussion here, for me as a leader, accountability is one of the most important words, right? The word that I use as often as resonance, you would say. And obviously, COVID comes along, and you need to change the way you communicate, Zoom, Teams, Microsoft Teams. If you are in a corporation, you don't have Zoom, whatever you use. But who's accountable to teach the people how to use this new tool? Because we think, it's normal. Okay, we just go on a video call, we have a webcam, and we have our conversation, right? No, it's not the same, right? It's not the same as being in person.
Yeah.
And there are people that study communication, that there are techniques to get more engagement, even if people are remote, techniques to make sure that people are listening, techniques to make sure that people are responding to your input. As a leader, of course, you can ask questions so people don't sleep or don't start looking at their phone. There are, contracting, I call it. Okay, so before each call, you say, now you put the phone in silence and you put it away from you, so where you cannot reach it. So what I'm trying to get at is that if as a leader you're not happy about this tool that we're using, maybe you can do something about it. You can provide training to your people to communicate using this tool that you assume it's easy and it's the same, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
And effective leadership is also understanding the change and providing your team with the training and the structure to adapt to the change, because maybe they're not listening or distracted, because you can improve the way you communicate, and you can improve the way you teach them how to communicate in this new world, right?
Yes, 100%. So the reason why I named the company Everything is not because we do everything in communications, but because we believe that communications is everything. We believe that everything that the CEO, CMO, CRO, CIO, everything that they want is on the other side of great communication. And that it's the most of all the most critical foundational building blocks of business, that communication is the first one, the most critical one. They say that nothing happens, until somebody sells something. Sure. Also, nothing happens without communication. Like, there is nothing to sell. There's no sales team. There's no product. There's no company. There is the founder with the thought in their head. That's it. That's all that you have without communication, right? Until you communicate effectively to get your first followers and hire developers and build products and find customers. So we believe that everything is communication. And who at a company is tasked with maximizing this most critical thing? Who is tasked with looking across the company, internally and externally, to maximize this most critical cornerstone foundational thing that is most critical to the business? How do we maximize this? How do we listen better to our employees? How do we engage them better? How do we resonate with them better? How do we come on the same vibe, the same wavelength as them? How do we do that with our customers? How do we not just, spam them and social media to them and website to them and, talk at them, but how do we actually listen to them and join the wavelength, find out what are they trying to do, come alongside them, building products and servicing them in the ways that they want and that they need. And I don't know that exists, that person. I don't know that there's anybody who does that in an organization.
No, I'm not aware either. I guess it's left to the single leader, manager, employee to do that.
Exactly. That's who it's left to. And it's always, yeah, go ahead.
And of course, why train someone for 5 years to be able to run a piece of equipment or a machinery? Why does the accountant need to be certified, right? Before being able to look at the books? Why the leader needs to have 20-year experience and have done this and that, and why not the person that needs to do the most important things that you do every day, which is communication? Why that training is not provided? Why that person is not there in each company to improve the communication?
Yeah, 100%. And so
it becomes obviously a rhetorical question when once you agree that the pathway to success is resonating through communication.
Yeah, you would think. It's just fine. So here's the challenge actually that we're having, and it's a brand new company. We've only been at it for 3 months, but the big challenge that we're finding is, who do you talk to about this? Who do you take this to? Right? I had an example. I posted it on TikTok, but I had an example where 2 weeks ago, I had a large client. This company was looking for a Crestron certified technology provider. Fantastic. I went out, I found one, and I wanted to speak to the VP of sales about how we could partner together to help my client. And I called their head office, and the receptionist answered, and I asked for the VP of sales, and she said that, "Oh, sorry, but they've left for the day." And to your point earlier, you said, well, everybody these days, they have a phone. They don't have to be at the office. They can work from anywhere. Well, not in this company's case. In this company's case, when the VP of sales is out of the office, apparently they are unreachable, right? Which to me is just mind-boggling. Like, how in this day and age can a person be unavailable to communicate with somebody who potentially wants to send them some business. And not only was he going to be unavailable that day, he was going to be unavailable for the next 4 days because he was going to be in meetings. But just the disconnect and the lack of processes and technology and thinking around how do we maximize communication so that we can maximize our sales efforts. And I think what it comes down to is, it's like you said, it's all done on a reactionary basis. There is no one person who is working to figure out and to look for the gaps and to find them and to raise them up and say, hold on, this is a big gap here. What's going to happen when XYZ happens, right? And typically it's just left with, oh, well, we need, video conferencing. Oh, well, we need telephony. We need whatever, the basic things. And I mean, there are no companies really without the basic things, in a sense. I would argue that that's actually not true, that having a cloud phone system that works wherever you are is a basic thing in 2023, right? Not being in a physical office should not be a reason you cannot take or make a phone call, right? Anyway, to me, that's a basic thing. But I think the reason why this exists is because there is nobody who's tasked with that, and to not just tasked with it to where it's possible, but where it's maximized, right? So it's given to IT. Hey, IT, can you set up these folks with phone? They'll set them up so they have a dial tone, right? Does it maximize the experience for the employee? Meh. Does it maximize the experience for the customer? Meh. It's a dial tone. It works.
The phone is a tool, right? Like every other tool, you can use it or leave it on the desk, or use it to scroll Instagram or TikTok for that matter. Yeah, I would assume the VP or sales should be available on the phone if needed, and and in this particular case, I cannot really say why this person was not available,
No,
but
sure.
I don't think technology is a substitute for the willingness to listen and to be available, right? I think
well,
that
exactly. So that's where it starts. But with that, having somebody who's in charge of that to say, how are we doing this, right? How are we available for our customers at any given time when they come to our website? Are we just speaking at them, or are we there to listen to them? Do we have chat bots? Do we have live chat? Do we have ways to listen, to engage, to connect, to resonate?
it's certainly the technology should be there, I guess, at this point. I don't know how you resonate through a chatbot. I find them still quite irritating these days.
Yes, they are.
I still want to speak with a real person. Because no matter what, you can still see the difference between a real person that you're willing to resonate and a bot. I guess the day that the bot will resonate with people, then that means that they're ready to take over, right? And then another change will come, and we don't know what's going to happen then.
Well, I would suggest that the resonance here is in listening to what your customers want, and what your customers want is the ability to actually, in some cases, I would say in many cases, is to not even engage necessarily with a human. The problem with bots, and I agree, most bots on most websites are horrible, and they're practically useless unless you want to know if the store is open or closed. Then it can give you basic information. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about new era bots, AI powered bots that are actually intelligent and can actually answer, real queries about, hey, is my order ready yet? Or has my order shipped out? Or, like real queries that customers have, the things that they're wanting to find out about. And so I would say resonating in this case is understanding where your customers are at and what they're looking for and how they want to engage you, and then meeting that need. That, I would say, resonates if you can, if they just want a quick answer to a relatively simple question, and I've had this experience even recently. I was looking for as a new company, I needed a CRM system, and I went to this company's website, and they had a bot. It was a basic bot, and I tried to engage with it and ask it a basic question, and it didn't know the answer. And then it put me onto a live person, and the live person took me through all this rigmarole. And I had a LinkedIn post about this. I'll include it in the post. But 45 minutes later, I got the answer to my question, which honestly, an intelligent bot could have given me immediately. It could have given it to me within 30 seconds. That would have resonated with my need, right?
Yeah,
My
of
need
course.
was a quick answer to a simple question. That was my need. It didn't meet my resonance. It didn't meet my vibe. It didn't meet where I was at, what I was looking for, right?
That's technology is definitely still imperfect, and that's why some companies are successful and some other are not. I would say, but in the end, the the goal of every company, every leader should be to be able to resonate with customer, employees, and supplier that we often don't speak about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
um, and and the way to do that, I think, is to be authentic, and in my opinion, is, to be authentic and to speak to the common values that every person has, and treat everybody with respect.
Yeah.
That I would think is the fundamental thing that you need to resonate with people. And it seems like, oh, easy, right? Easy said, easy done. But it's incredible how how much inroads leader and company and persons, everybody still need to have that basic respect for everyone that allows you to start on a place of resonance.
You know what? That's really good, and it's actually making me think of something. And I know we're probably running a bit on time here, but I want to ask you this. Maybe we can put this off till next time. But you're causing me to think of something that we talked about earlier, which was the generational divide or gaps or change. And I mentioned, some of these older executives are not always doing a great job staying in touch with what the younger generation wants, and they're not listening to what the younger generation wants, and they're not on the same vibe. I want to ask you this. I don't know that resonated very well with you, and I don't know that that's going to resonate really very well with the CEOs that I'm trying to target about how we can help them with their company. I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
I think clever leaders, CEO, or whatever position they have in the company, they do understand the necessity to adapt to change and cultural change. It's companies that are not able to adapt to change will go extinct. You think about the usual BlackBerry and Nokia and Blockbuster, right?
Yeah, exactly. They didn't resonate with the younger
They
generation,
did
what the
not
younger generation
resonate.
wants. Yeah.
Yeah, they did not see the change coming, or if they saw it, they thought that they were so big and strong and
Yeah.
powerful that they did not need
No.
to change. I mean, if you think about the absurdity of Kodak inventing digital
There you
photography
go.
and then shelving it because, obviously we sell film, so let's not do digital, right?
Right.
Um, so I think you will find people that understand that change is needed. I think your challenge as a business leader to resonate with these people, because obviously you want to put this observation in a manner that is not threatening to the person, because
Yeah.
this is not about the person. This is not about
No.
how old you are, what
No.
generation you belong to.
No.
this is about business,
Yeah,
and as I said before, uh, respecting the change.
yeah,
Respecting the fact that people think differently from you, and every CEO has got his mouth full of safe environment, a place where you can talk and be open, etc. So there's going to be plenty that they really believe in this. So I don't think that should be a problem to help facilitate this change through communicating better.
okay.
And for the one that will not, that they think they don't need or they don't want to adapt, I will wish them the best with their business, but I will definitely not buy their shares.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's thank you for that. Thank you. I wanted to bring that up because I'm not sure about how to speak about it, and I don't want to be ageist or speak poorly against any generations. It's just the fact of the matter is culture changes. It always has. It always will, and there are differences generation by generation, and some people do a better job of uh, connecting with the younger generation and seeing how they're different and what their needs are and adapting, and then some don't and some aren't. And so I it's not coming from a place of wanting to judge or castigate. It's coming from a place of wanting to really help, right? And I just
For
I don't
sure.
know. I'm not sure on how to best bring it up and discuss it.
I If you start from a place where you want to discuss this because you see an opportunity, and as you said, is I have a daughter, she's 18 years old, and so
Mm.
I see the change. But to be honest with you, my approach is, it's just like my parents said with me, and I was very fortunate in that perspective. It's things are in always motion, things always change, right? And you need to change your frequency. A bit like the radio. If your favorite station changes the frequency, you need to change the frequency, or you will not be able to hear them anymore, right? And
That I love that right there. I'm gonna include that as a quote. You need to change your frequency, or else you will not be able to hear your
the program.
customers, hear your employees, hear the program. Yeah, you're gonna be missing
Yeah.
out on the program. There you go. Yeah, love it.
And as you said, changing the frequency has nothing to do with judging people
No,
or being disrespectful. It's about wanting to be in tune.
yes, there you go. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm afraid that I don't want to come across like I'm trying to castigate or anything. And maybe that's in my tone in the way that I'm communicating. So I was asking you to just check me and help me so that I can communicate more effectively and resonate better in the same frequency that people can get and appreciate and not want to tune me out.
I honestly do not feel that in our
Yeah, okay.
discussion, but I do understand your concern. It's always, it's one of those difficult conversations that people needs to be open. And I think when you come from a place to look, if you do this, you will see this type of improvement with clever business people that can be, as old as my grandmother, or as young as a teenager in
Yeah.
programming some new app.
Yeah.
I think that business acumen and the willingness and the
Mm.
passion to bring a product or a business or a service, those don't have age, right? We
And
just think they do, but in reality, they don't.
yeah, and I would also add, based on this conversation, and a willingness also to listen, a willingness
Absolutely.
to tune in, and to listen and to get communication. What is there to be had? What is this person, this consultant, what do they have to share that maybe I am missing? And I think coming all the way back to the beginning, part of what I was suggesting is that we don't resonate very well together, from our families to with our spouses, with our employees, within the province, within the country, within globally. We don't resonate well a lot of times, and it's because of this exact same thing. We're not open to adjusting our frequency a little bit to somebody else's frequency who has something that they might like to share, who's coming at us. Not coming at us, that sounds confrontational, but who's bringing us, who wants to share something with us from a different frequency, from a different point of view.
You said it very well, and I would add, and I would add that you are much better able to change your frequency if you understand that the base frequency of the earth and of the people is the same.
Yes. I had that exact conversation with my wife on the weekend.
That's what I strongly believe. I don't believe in differences. I think differences between culture and races, religion are a construct. And I believe it not because somebody told me, but I believe it because I've spent the last 20 years of my life traveling in 4 continents. I work in 10 different countries. And, whether you want to, or decide to trust me or not, the fact is that nowhere I found people that would not resonate with some basic principle that we could all agree upon. Nowhere. And so I do not believe that there's not a base vibe from which you can start, tunings, finely tuning against each other until you resonate. And then each next tune allows you to vibrate and resonate even more, and until really impossible is just a word, not to think.
Enrico, I absolutely love that. I'm with you 100%, and that's actually why I aim to start my day every day in meditation, so that I can get myself in tune with a frequency of who I am and how I want to be, so that I show up, when I leave that and go downstairs and I'm being with my wife, being with my kids, and I go into my meetings and be with my customers, be with my my team, that I can be somebody who's in tune with who I am. So yeah, I think if we all actually did that, you're right, we would all be in tune with who we are, who is love, kindness, generosity, benevolent. This is, I think, who we are as human beings. We're just often not in tune with ourselves, let alone each other.
You said it too well for me to add anything to it.
Wonderful. Enrico, such a pleasure. Thank you so much. I would actually love to have you back on, because there's a takeaway, this whole other thing that I'd love to get into with you. We all used to be on Facebook. Then we got off. You know what I did last Friday? I was on Facebook Friday evening. My family was away. I was home alone, and I got onto Facebook and I started connecting with, for the purpose of resonating. Just like I say, I was thinking a lot about your book, and thinking a lot about what we talked about in our pre-call, and it really struck me, and I really wanted to resonate with people that I've not been resonating with for a very long time, and so I'd love to have a conversation with you about all that.
Well, you know where to find me, and we have the technology, and so I'll be happy to have another conversation with you, because I enjoyed your company tonight.
All right. Fantastic. I enjoyed yours very much as well.